in the first world has been a great source of empowerment for women in the third world, because women can actually meet people other than the boy that their parents bring to the house. And it occurred to me that that's really powerful as well. So three things: sharing, connecting, what was the third thing? Documenting history in real time. And I guess the fourth thing, to what Dee said, is fundraising. I think that's a huge opportunity that social media has afforded to societies. So we can now donate to charities, and we can be activists in our own way without even leaving the office. So that's good. And with that, I'll hand over. I've been talking a lot then. So
here, thanks very much. Joanne, Plukka?
Plukka. Like pluck and pucka is a portmanteau word.
You've been tweeting or blackberrying or everything while you've been listening to this conversation.
Although I encapsulated his talk. Don't worry. I
Okay.
documented his words and I dissimulated full attention at the same time.
Okay,
I
I'm
actually did
impressed.
pay attention.
So my question to you is really about how do you do that effectively? What is an effective strategy to not only run an e-commerce site, but also to tweet, document, listen all at the same time?
Now, are you being serious? This is not a time management seminar, but I know that a lot of women in here are mothers like me, and could probably benefit from that kind of advice. But I will include that as a sidebar. So my few remarks, where I'm actually going to give some nuts and bolts on the ground advice about social media, because I was very lucky to help an NGO which was founded in 2009 called Clean Air Network, of which the general manager is here today, named Helen Choi. So everyone, please, who cares about air pollution, which is Hong Kong's public health crisis, support Clean Air Network, ampersand Clean Air Network, of course. Okay. And I wanted to just give some really basic advice to everybody in here who's obviously cares about not just as a business person how to engage people through social media, but also, in this case, also talking about how do we get civic society to engage more by utilizing social media. And I think that one of the mistakes that a lot of people in Hong Kong have in their mind, because it's also a very nascent field, is that it's a panacea. It's a marketing panacea. I can simply, sign on for a Twitter handle, open a Facebook page. The droves of people will come and begin participating in my movement. Not at all. And we were one of the original NGOs to actually become a leader in that industry. And I'll tell you, it took really major dedicated resources. And there is no such thing as free content or a free tweet, or basically depleting your credibility with your audience by basically tweeting or posting something that they genuinely don't care about. So like any really great marketing exercise, which is really effective, we had to first think, okay, I'm dealing with a disaffected, uninterested, selfish, apathetic Hong Kongan audience, all true. I mean, sadly, and one of the reasons we founded the NGO was thinking, okay, well, actually, what is the activation point for most people in society, especially in Hong Kong? Over busy, and also, to a large extent, just Hong Kong is very much hell-bent on efficiency and success. Okay, so we thought, what should we do to activate people about air pollution? And we came upon the solution, or the message that really was going to be health, and how air pollution has very serious adverse impacts on your and your family's health every day. So that was the starting point. And really, let's all remember that social media is really only there to amplify thought leadership and genuinely valuable content, which in today's society really has to be something which the audience is not going to stumble upon themselves. So while we decided, when we came up with that message, we realized that social media was going to be the fastest way out of the starting block with the message. But what happened was we realized that we actually have to spend maybe Tiffany, our social media manager, is here. It takes about 12 hours a week to comb through literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Google alerts on the topic of air pollution and health. So now it has paid off. We have a Twitter following of like 35,000 people. How many people now, Tiffany? 14. How many total? 40? Oh, 1/4. Okay. And on Facebook, we have about the same number of followers. I thought it was much bigger on Twitter. Anyway, so now we've become one of the world's leading resources about air pollution and health. Now that has been hard won, And it has taken hours and hours and hours every week of actually combing through a lot of duplicative Google alerts. So that's the first point that I want to say, that there's nothing as such as an automatic panacea by utilizing social media. The second thing that I wanted to say is that you need to till the ground as well. Because a lot of people think, oh, let me do a flash mob. Let me actually convene a group of very passionate people who are going to do crazy things like something that we did, lay down on the ground in the middle of Causeway Bay in front of Sogo for a huge photo op attended by, and where hundreds of passers-by actually stopped to look at us and was covered by all the media. Now that wasn't a mistake, and it wasn't just by sheer serendipity that all those people showed up, and the media showed up and all that stuff. That took a lot of planning. That took weeks of basically recruiting individuals, volunteers, and it's not as if, like, sometimes you read about, oh, there was a flash mob, hundreds of people showed up at Grand Central Station to participate in some really amazing choreographed dance or something like that. So, I mean, these kinds of exercises, we held a scavenger hunt in which 75 schools, kids actually participated, and it was a huge success. We added more than 1,000 people in our Facebook following. And as well, I mean, and to have 75 schools kids participate, that was quite a huge feat. That took how many volunteers? That took 50 volunteers. We had to get numerous partners involved. Now, the one thing I can't stress enough as an activist is also when you're doing that, you need to have these dedicated evangelist champions on the ground who are there in real life. I mean, it's not just like I can reach out to you on Twitter. I met you today. Now I can go to you, like, I was tweeting about you. I mean, now we can be genuine friends, and I can call Zaheer, hopefully, and ask him, like, please, we're about to do this big, crazy thing. Will you actually come on board and tweet and post about it, in the upcoming week, or in the run-up of the week before the thing we're going to do. So there is no substitute, I always say this, there's no substitute for real-life engagement, real-life credibility, like really genuine in-person networking, creating content which is really valuable, original, and which the audience will be very difficult for them to find. So that's basically what my contribution, I hope, to the panel is. That really, when it comes to social media, it's a fantastic megaphone. But if you're an activist, especially in a place like Hong Kong, where people are not waiting for the opportunity to get involved by getting, like, only in virtual reality. Like, we don't have armchair activists in Hong Kong. We have no activists in Hong Kong. So you have to really go out there and you have to go and cultivate that audience quite aggressively and meaningfully. Thank you.
Joanne, thanks very much. I really want to open it up to questions and discussions, but from the whirlwind of ideas and thoughts that we've just heard, there are two themes that I want to focus on first. The first is with social media, spontaneity versus being very well organized. And with all of the stories that I've heard, there is this combination of it just happened and it was beautiful and it was amazing and these women got together and did this thing. And also this sense that actually you have to be pretty well organized to make all this stuff happen. So maybe to any of you, how do you put those together? Do you let it just happen, even though you're really organized underneath the surface?
Can I just start by saying, and I need to stress this, that We Women didn't just happen. It started with a lot of planning, and it took a lot of manpower to have this creative experience, and that's how she explains it. It was a creative experience for all the people that were involved. It was very much so face-to-face with what Joanne was saying and people that we connected with. It actually started as just, an idea, and then they got their friends and the community that they were in touch with face-to-face in Toronto, and they did little parties and talks, and an epic garage sale, and it took a lot of planning. As I said, it started in 2008, and nothing went viral until 2011. So that's a lot of years of planning before it just happened. But when it did go viral, in that month, they had, I think, 3,000 plus likes on Facebook for their page and 100,000 visits to the website and Kickstarter. So yes, in a way, 60 days can seem like a long time, but all the groundwork they laid before that came first.
Mariko, what about in terms of editing news? Is it the same type of planning, the same type of editing principles that you use?
Well, of course, if you're tweeting and you're a journalist for the Wall Street Journal, there are a lot of things you can't say. So you do have to be careful, and we do have the usual disclaimers at the top, but when it came to the earthquake, I mean, what Di did, that was pure spontaneity. I mean, he just had his iPhone with him, he was seeing the devastation firsthand, he was driving through it, and that was, on his part, it was pure genius to just form that rolling eyewitness account of the aftermath of the earthquake.
Was that planned though, or was it spontaneous?
It was completely spontaneous.
On his part.
It was completely spontaneous. I mean, as I said, none of us had the presence of mind or even the intelligence to say, Di, you really need to start tweeting, this is a moment for you. He just started doing it because he's a technology reporter, he's very savvy with gadgets, he's very savvy with social media, so he took initiative. I mean, had it been me, had it been someone else, I don't know that we necessarily would have taken the same approach. So in a way, we were really lucky that he was the one who volunteered to go out and be the first person out there.
Zaheer, in terms of spontaneity, I dare anyone to say that 10 times fast this morning before enough coffee. And planning, because it sounds like it's sort of a misnomer that you just kind of like start tweeting and it all works and it all happens.
Yeah.
How much time should people be devoting to that when they want to get a project off the ground, planning around the technology and making it happen?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think for businesses, it's obviously the business that what is up with this mic and me?
Technology and planning.
Isn't like
Yeah.
okay. Since we're live streaming, I'm going to keep going. What was I? What was your question again? Sorry.
Planning.
Oh yeah, planning. So, with businesses and what we do, we spend a lot of time planning, right? So I'm a planner, I'm a strategist as well. It's part of my job. So when we work with brands, we plan stuff meticulously with social media campaigning, programming. I have some colleagues in the room here who know all about it. They're planning stuff with some brands that we're working on right now in the social media space. I think with social activism and news-related, world affairs or local, societal activism, it's different, right? Because you can't really plan stuff because there is a mix of spontaneity because things are just going to happen in real time. If a story is compelling enough, people are going to rally around the story. But what you do need to plan, obviously, is your network. So you need to build a network so that you have a voice, and your story is going to be carried through your network and then get disseminated out into a larger network. And I wanted to mention one more point, but I forgot it, so I'll come back to it.
So from what I'm hearing, it all seems quite natural, but really there's a lot of planning and preparation around it. So if you're sending out tweets from the field in Japan, you kind of set it up technically before you actually get it moving, or if you're starting a big activist project, you've actually set up all the systems so that when you fire, it's all ready to go to seem spontaneous.
Yeah, exactly.
One
thing I just want to, just one thing on that is that, there are things like what happened in Japan, which is, a transformational news story that changes the whole world. And if a journalist is out on the field, or just an ordinary citizen, and that citizen is empowered with a gadget and is connected and has a small network to tweet to, that story is going to carry, right? And I'm sure Mariko can talk more about that and how it's changed journalism. But I think, to come back, I was thinking about the point about the taxi driver in Cairo. And, so the point with that is that what we saw last year happened with the Arab Spring in April of 2011 or in the spring. That did happen spontaneously. That had been in the works on the ground with grassroots movements for years. So the story I told you happened 5 years ago, and people were already trying to rally and stuff. So there is a lot of planning involved. It isn't seen, and then comes to a tipping point, and that's when the story becomes compelling and disseminates. Sorry, Joanne.
Oh, no, don't worry. I wasn't going to say anything that important. Except about time management. So, I'm going to dramatically change topic, but of course, with something, just to speak to this point, and then dovetail to the other one. Of course, if something traumatic and shocking and violent happens, that's going to trigger a huge amount of, just a seismic wave of social media interest. So you can't really compare the two things, of course, right? Now, of course, if you're dealing with something like a commercial activity, and here I'm going to change gears. And by the way, I see all the women in the room. I know you all love jewelry, so pluckup.com, okay? No, but this is related. This is very related also because a lot of you are business people, if not all of you. Okay, for example, we are building a major Facebook competition and promotion app. And our site is basically focused on the United States market. And I have a big digital PR agency in the States which represents Tiffany and Ralph Lauren, for example, who is assisting with seeding of that promotion several weeks in advance. So we are actually seeding the contest winning gift to bloggers.
S-E-E-D-I-N-G.
No, C as in colonel as in plant. Right?
Yeah.
So sorry. That's E-D-I-N-G. So we are actually making these rings, which are going to be the prize, and they're very edgy rings. I don't know who knows Pamela Love. She does they're like spike rings. And that's relevant because we also had to think, how do I jump? How do I create signal to noise ratio in my competition or my Facebook app or whatever? I need to avoid the prosaic, conventional, predictable. I need to do something that's shocking, that's going to appeal to a totally hardcore fashionista audience. Why would people actually share news or information about my app, and why would they play it at all? It's because it's an incredibly edgy reward, and because I already have 25 bloggers, some of the top fashion bloggers in the United States, already mentioning this game in the run-up to its launch of 2 or 3 days in advance. So that's the kind, because it's not as if I can just launch the game on Facebook. I'm going to put a significant amount of ad spend behind it. It costs a lot of money to develop, but if I don't want it to remain stillborn, I've got to till the field, just as I was saying, by doing the blogger seeding, by using opinion leaders to get to basically create a groundswell of interest before I actually launch the thing in the public sphere. I can't leave anything to chance. So that is transposing what we're talking about, like in terms of organization and planning to the commercial sphere. And everybody, of course, participate in that Facebook game.
Interesting stuff. Now, we've talked about seeding and spontaneity. The other key theme of this morning, really, is women. Women in social media. But if we use that thought of women, yes, our gender is known for being able to do several things at the same time, so maybe we should be good at social media. Witness Joanne talking, writing, listening, and doing everything at once. But is there anything different about women and social media? Is there something that makes us unique to be good at this or to get our ideas across with this? Anyone have a thought about that?
Well, I'll just add one point that I read last night while I was doing a bit of research, is that women use social media more than men. So, in terms of time spent. And that, I'll pass it on.
I think it goes back to what Zaheer was saying too, in that instead of revolutions and things happening over long periods of time and not hearing about it till a week later, a month later, years later, we can make it happen now. If you think about going back to the project of comfort women and something like that happening, it's been however many years and nothing's been done really yet for them. And then you go back to the bra and how immediate that was, how something happened right away, and you can get that out there to the world a lot faster. And when it comes to empowering women, we sharing that.
I'd go back to your story as well about the mothers in Japan, and it seemed like a very warm and community way to get thoughts across.
Yeah, I think Japan's a very interesting case because a lot of Japanese women don't have a voice. I mean, it's a country that for a long time has not been very egalitarian. So, you know, if you're a mom and you're worried about something, it's not as if you can just go to school and talk to the other moms and say, the government must be lying to us, there's got to be radiation. It's just taboo. If you are different, if you stick out, you will be an outcast. So actually, social media in Japan is a wonderful tool for being able to voice your concerns somewhat anonymously, getting a following, and then bringing people together. So I think in cultures where women aren't necessarily meant to be outspoken, where they're not meant to be activists, where they're meant to be a little bit more demure or submissive, social media has been a wonderful tool in helping them find their voices.
I'd like to open it up to the floor for questions, thoughts, ideas. Anyone want to raise their hand? And I'll pass the microphone around. I'm not sure whether it's going to work, but we'll give it a go.
I have a question about the seeding part, the funding. How do you convince, like, say, your digital agency to seed it before the whole?
I don't have to convince them I'm paying them.
I thought you said you're like.
No, seeding, we're talking about fundraising on Kickstarter. We're talking about totally different things. So I'm talking about my for-profit e-commerce startup, so for which I've retained a digital PR company. So no, and also, to be perfectly honest, that's a nakedly mercenary relationship.
Anyone else with questions?
Something that, thanks guys, this has been an inspiring and passionate panel.
Let us know where you're from and give us your name. So we can all say
My name's Jason. Hi.
Hi, Jason.
And I work at Get Never Began. Strategy. I can work with Zaheer sometimes. But I wanted to ask you a question about something that several of you have touched on, which is the blurring line between personal use of social media and professional use of social media, especially in the media industry. This is becoming a bigger and bigger issue. We're starting to see media figures being suspended from their jobs, Roland Martin and CNN, because of things that they're saying in social media.